How much time and money do you need to author an SDS? If you're an H&S manager or otherwise work with hazardous chemicals, then you know that time is not only money, but also safety. You have only 8 or so hours in a day to make sure that every chemical is properly labeled and every safety data sheet, or SDS, is accurate. Managers that supervise large industrial facilities that create their own products or blends know that it is impossible to handle the workload manually in this amount of time. Authoring a single SDS, for example, can be a long, tiresome procedure if you don't have the right tools. First, you would have to figure out which components make up a product and at which concentration, which gets more complicated the more products there are and the smaller the concentrations become. Next, you would undertake the demanding process of researching regulatory databases and reading official documents, sometimes hundreds of pages long, to fill in all 16 sections of the SDS. Section 2, Hazard Identification, would require you to study the GHS Purple Book and compare each component chemical to the different classification criteria of all 27 physical, health, and environmental hazards in the book. Sections 4 to 8, which inform readers on how to handle the product, store it, and respond to accidental releases, would be incomplete without information from reputable sources like the IARC or the ACGIH. And authoring sections 11 and 12, toxicological and ecological information, requires an in-depth understanding of hazmat regulations and databases like the EPA Ecotox, which indicate your component chemicals' relevant toxicological phrases. Once you have gathered all this research and know exactly the risks your product poses, you can prepare the final SDS using templates and a word processor. All in all, authoring an SDS manually can take over 20 hours of work for a beginner and anywhere between 10 to 15 hours for someone with experience. Now that you have a rough estimate of the duration in mind, try multiplying your hourly salary by this number: 20 if you are a complete beginner, 10 if you are a chemical expert, and any value in between depending on your experience level. That's more or less how much it costs to properly author a safety data sheet without assistance. This is where ERA's SDS authoring solution enters the picture. The team of chemists behind the software do the regulatory research for you, cutting time spent defining hazards and figuring out safety measures to near zero. We evaluate 11 primary sources and compile all of our chemical knowledge into a single master chemical list. Every chemical's applicable GHS hazards, safety measures, handling, storage, and transport directives, and ecotoxicological values are automatically pulled from this list at the time the SDS is generated. Even if a chemical is not in the MCL, the ERA team does the research for you at no extra cost. With all this effort taken care of, new ERA users report spending only 5 to 7 hours authoring an SDS fully, from inputting raw materials into the system to creating the final formulation of their product or blend. Most of that time actually goes toward learning the software, so an expert can expect to cut that time down to only 1 hour. That's 9 to 19 hours of work saved. Now multiply this range by your hourly rate, and that's how many additional funds you have to focus on more pressing work, like engaging with the people at your facility in safety training. But you don't have to take our word for it. Test run our software with one of our SDS on-demand packages and experience the improvements in productivity yourself.